Jump around.
Here we go.
You're listening to Fourth and Inches on Spreaker Web Radio, presented by Bayou State Pawn and Jewelry and Bayou Bark. Now here are the hosts, Nick Lott and Armando Ramirez.
We're back. It's been 3 weeks, but we're back. Nick Lott, Armando Ramirez, Fourth and Inches, Spreaker Web Radio. So I guess since we haven't made a show in 3 weeks, we have a lot to recap. I guess we'll get into one game from 2 weeks ago. And that was LSU and A&M playing at Kyle Field. And what I ended up paying $200 for a ticket.
Which is, I could have found you a cheaper ticket.
Yeah, and later that night, I found out my friend was like, oh, I could have gotten you a student ticket for free. Anyway, $200 later, 4 hours later,
That was
LSU beats A&M, but this game was a lot closer than I thought it was. Or than I thought it would be, because
Go ahead.
I mean, I was nervous. They kicked the ball off to A&M. They run the ball, throw the ball right down the field, score a touchdown, miss the extra point.
Ryan Swope.
Yeah, and just and then they go 3 and out. Their offense is just dormant, and I was like, oh my god, I spent $200 on a ticket. Like, what a waste. And then their offense starts clicking. Mettenberger was 13 for 29, though.
No, you went too fast there. They didn't.
No, it took a while.
Yeah,
it took a while. What happened was
you just recapped it way too fast.
What happened was their defense. A&M was throwing out packages that nobody had ever seen. These were brand new packages.
Yeah.
LSU hadn't seen these on film. And nobody had seen these before. And so their defense is running around like, what do we do?
Exactly.
And it took them a good 2 series to say, okay, look, you match up with this guy. And then that's when Mingo and Montgomery started making things tough on Manziel. I think you played a really good game given the circumstances. I mean, you're going against one of the top 4 or top 5, like, front 4 in the country.
Yeah.
And with those 2 defensive ends, I was really pleased with the matchup that they had against the 2 tackles. And Mettenberger just overthrew people all all game. He wasn't sharp.
It was bad.
It was bad. Like he overthrew Odell Beckham, the fastest guy on the team, by a good 10 yards 2 or 3 times.
It was really bad.
And another thing that in that game that was bad, or a couple things, were A&M's kicking game, which ultimately cost them. But honestly, I think if LSU's offense was clicking that day, that it doesn't come down to that. It doesn't come down to, hey, we missed 2 field goals and an extra point.
Okay. I'm gonna go away from I'm gonna go away from you there for just. I don't think the kicking game was exactly the Achilles heel that they had. I think the turnovers were much more.
Yeah, and I said the week before,
you're not going to win any games when you turn it over.
When they beat Ole Miss and everybody was happy, and I was like, dude, they turned the. Yeah, they gave up a lead. They turned over the ball 6 times.
Yeah,
and when you go up against a team that can actually produce points off the turnovers, granted, LSU's offense has been not terrible all season. When their offense clicks, it's because of the running game.
Yeah.
Mettenberger has not done anything this year passing the ball. He's just been all over the place.
The second half, I think the turning point of the game was in the second quarter when they threw that interception into the end zone, and then the Johnny Manziel threw that interception at the end of the second quarter, gave LSU life and gave them got them back into the game like that. I think that's what started to descend, and all the Aggie fans were a little bit nervous, a little bit worried that LSU was finally going to come back.
One good throw Mettenberger had that game was at the end of the first half. That I think it was like a slant and go to Kadron Boone. That pass was perfect. He laid out perfectly. LSU goes up at halftime, and They kind of took over in the second half, and A&M, they made that game close because like A&M scored, and LSU's defense kind of backed off because I guess they kind of saw it as, okay, they're going to have to get an onside kick and go score another touchdown to beat us.
Right.
And
that game, I mean, that was just a bad day overall.
I thought they were going to score on that lateral play, and then Ryan Swope just got annihilated.
Yeah. I mean, it was, let's just say...
and that was really, like, and we were just listening when we were planning the show to our SEC preview. You have to remember, at the beginning of the year, we thought Arkansas was going to be good. We thought Auburn was going to be good. Combined, they're like 3-12 this year.
Yeah, it's not good for. I mean, the SEC took a hit with Auburn and Auburn and I was about to say Alabama. Auburn and help me out. Arkansas. Yeah. Auburn and Arkansas. They're nowhere near as good as they were just 1 year ago. Even 2 years ago. So the SEC definitely took a hit in its competition, but you still got Alabama, you still got LSU, and you still got really good teams going that you have to beat.
And like I was telling you when we were planning the show, and as much as we both listen to talk radio and watch ESPN, all that kind of thing, one thing that has really not been said about Auburn's lack of success is they lose offensive coordinator Gus Malzahn to the head coaching job of Arkansas State.
Yeah.
And I know people say, oh, well, they won a national championship 2 years ago. Well, I mean, you lose 15 of your 22 starters, and then a year later go on to lose your offensive coordinator. There's going to be time to rebuild. There's no doubt in my mind Gene Chizik will keep his job after this year. They're not going to fire him after this season, no matter how bad he gets. Because he has that national championship under his belt.
Yeah.
That SEC championship under his belt. He has credibility. But I don't get why nobody talks about that, though. They just say, oh, Auburn sucks, but they don't explain why.
Right.
And
there's always a reason. It's not always just cut and dry like that. But, I mean, there's always a reason for why a team declines every year.
Moving on to what happened this past week in college football, probably one of the most gruesome injuries I've ever seen in my whole entire life. If you're not squeamish, go to YouTube, search Marcus Lattimore injury versus Tennessee. You will see his leg fold in half like a chair. But, I mean, if you don't... I mean, this is quite literally the only sports injury I've seen that made me sick to my stomach. I mean, it was just gross. He ended up tearing his ACL, MCL, and PCL, definitely out for the year. Hopefully it's not a career-ending injury because, I mean, he had just come off. He tore his left ACL last season, and it was like almost a year to the day.
Yeah.
And, I mean, as hard as he runs, I mean, he's a very physical back.
He's really good.
You can't tackle him up top, so people are going to take out his legs. It wasn't a cheap shot. It was a clean hit. It's just the way that he got hit and the way his leg was braced. It was just a recipe for disaster.
It was just pure bad luck.
And I'm surprised how close Tennessee played that game. South Carolina beats Tennessee 38-35 over a field goal. Yeah, I mean, really that's all there is to say about that game. Connor Shaw, I think, was named player of the game for what it's worth.
Yeah.
One game that really surprised a lot of people was Texas squeaking by Kansas and 21-17. Mac Brown benched David Ash and put in Case McCoy. Case McCoy led him down the field for that game-winning drive.
Right.
And Charlie Wise... he stepped into a bad situation at Kansas.
Obviously.
I mean, Kansas is a basketball school. Duke's a basketball school, but Duke's bowl eligible for the first time since like 1993.
I don't know why you knew that.
I saw it on ESPN like last week. Anyway, and Mac Brown announced today that David Ash will be the starter playing against Texas Tech this week.
Right.
You can take these next couple.
All right, so... Georgia beats Florida. Georgia beats Florida 17-9. I think that was pretty surprising, don't you think? Sort of.
Yes
surprising.
and no, because
Florida is what, number 5 in the country?
No, Florida dropped to I think 7. LSU's
Okay,
fine.
yeah, okay. So Florida's number 7 in the country, but they were.
I mean,
last
going into
week-
this game, though,
yeah.
you have to think.
Florida
Okay,
was the favorite.
if we beat them, we have the SEC East wrapped up. We're going to
Exactly.
Georgia regardless.
Right.
Regardless of what happens the rest of the year, we have our trip booked to Atlanta to play whoever wins the SEC West.
Right.
And that's still, it'll be able to take more form after the game at 7 o'clock on Saturday between LSU and Alabama. We'll get into that, not this next segment, but the segment after. Notre Dame OU, that game was close for a while.
Notre Dame, baby, 30 to 13. Notre Dame knocks off OU, and they keep on moving. They keep on going. They keep on marching toward the national championship that they so want, and they still haven't had. They're relevant once again. Everett Golson ran for the go-ahead 1-yard touchdown with 5:05 left. In the 5th-ranked Fighting Irish's victory, 30-13, once again. And Heisman hopeful Manti Te'o, who had 11 tackles, 2 for loss, and a sack, intercepted Landry Jones' pass, ensuring possession to set up a Notre Dame field goal, and made it a 2-possession game with 3:22 remaining. Manti Te'o, one of the big pieces to Notre Dame's defense, and of course Everett Golson, a big part of Notre Dame's offense. They keep on marching, they keep on rolling. If they go undefeated, they're going to play Alabama, no doubt about it. Or they're going to play
The winner of the SEC.
They're going to play the winner of the SEC. We'll just say that.
Because everybody in the Big 12, with the exception of Kansas State, who sits at number 2 in the country.
Wow, what a surprise. Well, let's move. Okay, that's a perfect segue.
Well, yeah, that is because Kansas State beats Texas Tech 55-24. So much talk about the changing of the Texas Tech defense. Actually, before I get into this game, I do want to make a little bit of an announcement. I have Cody Davis. We're going to set up an interview with him, Texas Tech safety. Can't do it during the season. There's this whole scheduling conflict with the Texas Tech media, and he told me we can do it after the season, so be looking for that come January. Anyway, Kansas State 55, Texas Tech 24. It was close in the first half, and then Colin Klein really solidified why he is a Heisman frontrunner, because he did do it against a top 10, top 15 defense in the country, because Texas Tech, they are a good defense. Not so much against that game against TCU, which they won in triple overtime, but, I mean, collectively this year, they're miles beyond what they were last year, going 5-7. Bowl eligible, so that's always great to hear as a Texas Tech fan. Alabama 38, Mississippi State 7. One big thing I did want to get to is Mississippi State was undefeated, but they didn't really play anyone. Tennessee was the only real team that they played. They beat Auburn. Auburn's what, 1-7?
Yep.
1-7. They beat Tennessee. Tennessee's the only good team in the SEC that they have played this far that they beat.
But they're a decent team.
They're a good team, but they weren't ready for Alabama.
No one's ready for Alabama, and they only held them to 38 points against Alabama. That's not too bad, I don't think.
Yeah.
All right, so
I'll let you take this last one.
Moving on, we got A&M 63 demolishing Auburn with 21 points. Of course,
Giant football!
yeah. So Johnny Manziel, of course, big game. I think he threw for about 4 or 5 touchdowns, and then they put in the backup Showers. I think it's Jamel Showers.
Yeah.
So not much to talk about this game except A&M keeps on rolling.
Bowl eligible.
Coming off. Hold on. We'll get to it in a minute. Okay. Coming off their loss to LSU. Of course, they come back, show that they are a great. Well, I don't want to say a great team. A good, solid team. And me and Nick both didn't expect this from...
Well, I mean, nobody really did, because, I mean, you look at their schedule at the beginning of the year, you have to think, Auburn, you have to assume everybody's going to be a good team.
Exactly.
With the stature of the conference.
And as we said before...
Auburn and Arkansas have fallen off the map completely.
Yeah, I mean, but and still, I don't think I expected exactly Johnny Manziel to come out of do what he's doing and come out of his own like this. And I don't think A&M expected. I don't think any of the I don't think maybe the optimistic fans, but I think the realistic fans thought that A&M was going to have a okay season at best. But now they're having a good season. They're bowl eligible,
which brings me to my next point.
Take it away, Nick. Or actually, okay, let me start. Okay, so I was umpiring on Sunday, and the guy I'm working with, he says, well, I just heard that someone said on the radio that if A&M wins this next game in Week 10 over Mississippi State, they're going to be bowl eligible, and they're
not bowl eligible already.
I don't know.
They're 6-2.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, and they're bowl eligible, and that they have a good chance of facing, guess who? TU in the Cotton Bowl.
And in our first episode, in our SEC preview, this is what I said.
I think if A&M wins 6 games, that's a hell of an accomplishment by them. I think by doing that, there is a bowl game that features the SEC and the Big 12. That's the Cotton Bowl. I mean, if A&M's able to go bowling, I say put them in there with UT. That's going to generate a hell of a lot of revenue for both schools. That's going to sell tickets like crazy up at Jerry World.
I mean,
you heard it here.
In July.
In July, nonetheless. July 13th, something like that.
All right, with that, we're going to go to a break. We have some storylines that have happened over the past week and a half or so. We'll be right back. Quick break. Nick Lott, Armando Ramirez, 4th and Inches, Spreaker Web Radio.
Hey, I'm good. Let's go!
You're listening to 4th and Inches on Spreaker Web Radio, presented by Bayou State Pawn and Jewelry, Bayou Bark, and RDM Audio. Now here are the hosts, Nick Lott and Armando Ramirez.
We're back, 4th and Inches, Spreaker Web Radio. Storylines going into this week, coming out of last week. One that I really did want to get to, and I don't want to get too much into this because, I mean...
I know where this is going.
Well, let me just say one thing.
Just go ahead.
Jordan Jefferson and Tyrann Mathieu and 2 other former LSU players were arrested with possession of marijuana with intent to sell, booked into a Baton Rouge jail. I mean, I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. I mean, yes, what he did was stupid. I mean, you get suspended for your 3rd failed drug test. If you're still in school, they tell you, okay, if you can keep your act together, keep all those I mean, this dude, he went to rehab.
They didn't exactly say that he would have a spot on the team.
No, but I mean, if he had his shot.
You could have reasonably supposed that if he would have been clean for the rest of the year, up to next year, that they might have reinstated him for this next season. But I think all of us think that is a pretty big impossibility now.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to think, I mean, you're Tyrann Mathieu, you're Jordan Jefferson. You don't think the guys that are buying from you are like, oh, dude, I just bought from the Honey Badger. I just bought from Jordan Jefferson.
Yeah.
Like, you don't, and there's no way you can go by code names. People there are going to recognize you. They see your face all over the place. I mean, you were the quarterback and the cornerback of your football team, like,
for a hell of a long time.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't, that's one thing as a student athlete, like, and then you have the whole drug bust with TCU, like, last year. I mean, I don't get how football players can
just control yourselves.
Yeah, like, I can see smoking it, but I don't see, like, selling it. And I'm not condoning, like, smoking is good.
I can't even.
But I'm just saying.
I mean, I can't really even see smoke. I mean, it's not. They're not normal people.
Stuff happens. Like, college parties, stuff happens. I'm
Okay.
just going to go ahead and say it.
I mean, I can't see
But-
them. I can't
but
see them
selling-
doing it like regularly.
But selling,
yeah,
that's a big...
that's a big no-no.
Depending on how much
Anytime.
they had on them, I haven't really...
They had like 10 bags of weed.
Yeah, that's a felony then, because if you have over an ounce...
They had a lot more.
Yeah,
than
if you have over an ounce, that's
They had a
felony intent to sell.
They had a
So
lot more than that.
they're gone for a while.
Yeah, or forever. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going, I guess.
Heisman
hopefuls. Okay.
And like I said in the last segment, Colin Klein really solidified why he's deserving of being a Heisman frontrunner. I mean, Tech really, I say, shut him down. They kept that game close in the first half. I had good feelings because Colin Klein really... They knew going into this game they were going to have to make him do stuff with his arm because, let's just face it, he's not as good of a passer as he is a rusher. He's kind of a Tim Tebow effect. And, I mean,
All right.
it just got to a point where he was just like, all right, nobody's open down the field, I'm running the ball.
Yep.
And I think he ran for 3 touchdowns.
2.
2 touchdowns. Padding his stats.
Let's get to those stats. He had a 173 passer rating, 233 yards for 2 touchdowns, 73% completion rating. He had a great game, 19 out of 25 passing, 83 yards rushing for 2 touchdowns, 7 yards a carry. This is the front runner for the Heisman, most definitely.
You want to get this next one?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll do it. So, Manti Te'o, linebacker out of Notre Dame.
Defensive player on the Heisman watch. That's pretty special.
I mean, this guy is a pretty special guy, though. He had 11 tackles, 6 solo tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, and that's just all in one game last week when they beat Oklahoma 30-13. And I mean, this guy is the real deal, and he is one of the best defensive players in the country. I think, much like Tyrann Mathieu last year. Now that we're talking about,
yeah.
So he is one of the best in the country. He has been for a little while now. I mean, I think it's at a peak right now, but he definitely it hasn't been like he just shot up out of nowhere. He has been good for a while, and now it's really showing in his performance.
That's a hard question, bro.
What was that? Okay. Well, okay. So number 3, we got Kenjon Barner, running back.
I don't get how he's ahead of DeAnthony Thomas. That's just me. But go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't know. Okay. So for the 4th straight game, Barner rushed for more than 100 yards as number 4, Oregon demolishes Colorado 7-14.
70-14.
What did I say?
7.
Oh, okay. 70-14. That's a big difference. Okay, he rushed for 104, 2 touchdowns, 12 yards a carry. He had 2 receptions, 47 yards. He is a good presence in the Oregon offense, a big presence in that Oregon offense. But I guess Nick doesn't like him in that position.
I don't know.
All right, so
I mean, look at who they've played. Their first real test of the season is this week at USC.
Okay, all right. So we'll do a little fast one here. Okay, so we got AJ McCarron, quarterback out of Alabama. He's going to have a big test against LSU this weekend. He completed 16 out of 23 for 208 yards and 2 touchdowns last week against Mississippi State. Coming in at 5, last Braxton Miller, QB out of Ohio State. Penn State last week, he had 143 yards for 1 touchdown and 1 interception.
That was coming off a concussion, though, right? Or he was cleared to play, so he didn't have a concussion.
He was cleared to play, but he did have a concussion last week. And then rushing-wise, 134, 2 touchdowns, 5 yards to carry, not bad. Pretty solid number from Braxton Miller. You can always expect it from him. And just going to throw this in there, Johnny Manziel is kind of down there, but he is pretty good, and he's pretty much having a pretty good season.
That will all change when they go to Tuscaloosa. I can guarantee
Stat-wise, he's having a good season. Nick thinks it'll change. I think it.
I don't think. I know it'll change.
Okay, it might.
Just look what LSU did to him, limiting him running the ball.
Yeah.
Alabama.
Again, I'll give you the Alabama game. Alabama, everybody knows.
Mississippi State's going to be a good game. We'll get into that on the next segment.
All right, you take it. No, we're done. Yeah,
we're done with that segment. All right, coming up, we'll have a preview of Week 10. Segment after that, we will have a Lou Holtz pep talk for LSU and Alabama. Stay tuned. Nick Lott, Armando Ramirez, 4th and Inches, Spreaker Web Radio. We'll be back in a minute.
You're listening to 4th and Inches on Spreaker Web Radio. 4th and Inches is presented by Bayou State Pawn and Jewelry and Bayou Bark. Now here are the hosts, Nick Lott and Armando Ramirez.
We're back. 4th and Inches, Spreaker Web Radio. Nick Lott, Armando Ramirez. Week 10, probably going to be a short segment. Actually, no, it's not. We're going to break these games down. Or at least we'll break 3 of these games down. 3 of the 4 that we consider big games. I'll let you take this one, starting off with A&M. These, if anything, the traveling back and forth these next 2 weeks will take something out of them. Traveling to Mississippi State, I'll let you take this one.
All right, so you got number 14 Mississippi State against I think that's right, 14, I think.
15 and 16, or 15 and 17.
You got it right, 15-16. So, all right, so number 15 Mississippi State going up against number 16 A&M. How Mississippi? We both think that Mississippi State's a little bit overranked because they've only played really 2 good teams or 1 good team in Tennessee, really.
That they beat. They got.
Well, that they beat.
Embarrassed
by
Alabama.
Okay, well, yeah, but Alabama. Everybody gets embarrassed by Alabama, so we're not going to give them. We're not going to be too hard on them for that. So A&M traveling to Mississippi State while Alabama and LSU game go on this week. This is going to be a pretty good game, and this is probably going to be a kind of like a backup game, I guess. It's going to be a good game. The Bulldogs are 7-1, 3-1 in the SEC, and the Aggies are 6-2, 3-2 in the SEC. And they're just getting their feet wet in the first season of SEC play. They have a good season. Johnny Manziel's having a great season. So is Kevin Sumlin in his first year at A&M. So I think A&M got this. I think they're going to do good. As I said before, I think Mississippi State is a little bit overranked. I'm not saying they're not a good team. I just think that they're not to the level of A&M per se, so I think A&M...
Defensively, no.
No,
Defensively, no.
Exactly. So I think I'm going to take A&M. Big surprise, shocker there. Manziel, I predict, is going to have a pretty big game. We'll say 3-4 touchdowns. So it's going to be a good game. Y'all should watch it. Oh, no. You're probably not.
Is that game in prime time?
No, you're probably not going to watch it because it's at 11 a.m. Like the great, stupid ESPN makes all these games at 11 a.m. Just like they made the LSU game at 11 a.m. and I had to be at work at like.
Tailgating was rough that day.
It was very rough. Maybe you can tell me why later.
I got this next one. Texas at Texas Tech. Texas Tech unveiling some badass uniforms for this game. Really, the new. Obviously, it's nothing. It's going to be nothing like the Lone Star Showdown was between Texas and A&M. But really, kind of the new Texas rivalry with A&M leaving to the SEC. We talked about Texas playing A&M in a bowl game possibly this year. That all remains to be seen. But Texas at Texas Tech. Every time I've watched Texas play, I have not been impressed. They really have kind of a quarterback confusion. David Ash, Case McCoy. Mac Brown did say that David Ash will be the starter. Texas Tech on defense, led by Cody Davis. Really, Cody took it upon himself this year to make the adjustments on defense, really make himself a team leader. We will hear from him later in the year about that. But I think Texas Tech takes this one at home in a closer game than people are expecting. I think they're pissed off after this loss at Kansas State. I think they take it 30-17. And I got this next one too.
Okay, go.
Alabama A&M, CBS, 7 o'clock.
No.
Or Alabama LSU.
There you
wow.
go.
I got like 2 weeks ahead of myself. Alabama LSU, 7 p.m. CBS. Vern Lundquist, Gary Danielson have that call for you. My favorite broadcasting duo in the business. The only way I see LSU having an edge is if Zach Mettenberger really did something during the bye week to find out how to connect to the open receiver. If not, they have trouble. Alabama has the best rush defense in the nation with the best pass defense in the nation. Mettenberger has his hands full. But another reason why I think they stand a chance, 7 o'clock night game at Death Valley Tigers Stadium. I'm not going to pick a winner in this game because I honestly don't know how it's going to play out. Because I kind of think it's going to be a carbon copy of the South Carolina game. I didn't know who to pick in that game. South Carolina was ranked higher. Everybody was riding off LSU, and LSU came out and got that win.
Right.
I think it's going to be basically the same thing. If they can get the multiple running backs going that they've had going this year, Jeremy Hill, Kenny Hilliard, Spencer Ware, I'm running out of names. Michael Ford, Alfred Blue. That's 5. If they can get those guys in a constant rotation, confuse the Alabama defense, maybe work off the play action. I think LSU can take this game, but they're pretty much going to have to play a flawless game to beat Alabama. I'm not going to pick a winner. It could go either way. I'm just going to say that.
Okay, I'll just pick my winner because I know who's going to win, and that would be Alabama. And let me see. Let me figure out a score here.
I think it's going to be close.
Okay, I'll go with close.
It's not going to be the field goal game that we had last year. No, touchdowns will be scored. And you also have to think of it this way. There has been a fire burning in every LSU Tiger fan, player, student since Alabama beat them on January 9th, 2012 in the BCS National Championship.
All right, so since I picked Alabama, I'm going to go 17-21, Alabama wins. So close game. I think Alabama's just going to edge them out. I know Nick doesn't like to hear that, but whatever. All right, so moving on, we got big matchup, Oregon, USC.
Oregon's first real test of the year, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay, I can agree with you.
I mean, I think without a doubt they're going to win the Pac-12, but this is their first real.
Yeah, I mean, USC slipped up. They lost to Arizona. They've lost to a couple teams this year. And Oregon, of course, we keep on rolling. Their offense is doing good. They're keeping on rolling, and they're trying to make that push for the national championship, just as Notre Dame is, just as Kansas State is, and just as all those other teams are. So Kansas State, Notre Dame, Oregon, Oregon, basically the top, everybody after number 1 and before number 5.
I think LSU even still has a shot. If they win this week.
I mean, yeah, they have to, I mean, I'm not saying that they don't have a shot.
They need help.
I'm just saying that Alabama has to lose. They have to beat Alabama no matter what, and they're going to need some help. So I'm not going to throw them. I think Kansas State, Notre Dame.
One thing that I've heard people talking about that would help a team like Oregon and a team like LSU, whereas it would hurt Notre Dame and Kansas State, is those two teams don't play for a conference championship.
Yeah.
And LSU and with the additions into the Pac-12, Oregon would play for a conference championship.
Right.
LSU would play for a conference championship. Yeah. That's another game.
I'm not saying LSU doesn't have a shot to win. I'm not saying they don't have a shot to get in. I just think that Kansas State, Notre Dame, and Oregon have a better shot to get in.
They control their own destiny.
Exactly. And Notre Dame being independent, they basically,
if they lose, they're out.
If they lose, they're out. And if they keep winning, and if they win all their games, they're in. So I think that would be it'd be a fun game to watch. Notre Dame, Alabama. We'll just have to see what comes out of it. we'll just have to see the rest of the season how it goes. So, all right, you want to finish it off with the main event?
No, we'll come back with that. Lou Holtz Pep Talk, LSU, Alabama coming up in just a minute. Nick Lott, Armando Ramirez, 4th and Inches. Hang in there.
You're listening to 4th and Inches on Spreaker Web Radio, presented by Bayou State Pawn and Jewelry and Bayou Bark. Now here are the hosts, Nick Lott and Armando Ramirez.
Back, final segment. That's what the music means.
Listen to this.
This is... I've done this once before. We're trying to make it a regular thing on the show. Last segment of the show. It's the Lou Holtz Pep Talk.
It's time to get right to it.
Without further ado, let me get into character here. This is Lou Holtz addressing LSU before they take the field Saturday night against Alabama.
Here we go.
Okay, guys. Alabama is, without a doubt, the best team in the country. The target is on their back. People have already crowned them the national champions. This week, they come into Tiger Stadium looking to roll toward the SEC championship and the trip to Miami. We stand in their way. Yes, we haven't played well offensively. Everybody knows about that. But this is a new day. It's our time as a team to take control and get revenge for the embarrassing loss in the national championship last season. And it really all boils down to one question. One simple question. How bad do you want it? Thanks, Lou.
Yeah. That was good. That was really good.
Yeah, that one was scripted. The first, I kind of ad-libbed it a little bit here and there. But, the first one I ever did wasn't scripted. That was completely off the fly.
But it was still good. So.
Yeah, it's still good.
We still
a lot on tap. Be sure you watch some college football this weekend. Regardless, whatever you do, whatever your plans are, be safe.
Have fun.
Have fun. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. If you have too much to drink, call a sober friend or a taxi. A sober friend's cheaper, but anyway, that's just a message brought to you by yours truly, the host of 4th and Inches.
By 4th
Nick
and
Lott,
Inches.
Armando Ramirez. One thing I noticed that I hadn't been doing was playing music before we exit, so
let's play.
You know what the music means. We're out of here. Thank you for listening. We squeezed a lot into
40 minutes.
41 minutes.
So we should be starting to get back to it.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking a show later this week, but we really kind of covered everything we wanted to talk about.
And plus, I'm going back home this week, so
gotta go vote.
Go vote. Another thing.
Yeah, go vote.
November 6th.
Early voting this weekend. Find a place near you. Romney Ryan 2012.
Just saying.
Alright guys, thanks for listening. This has been 4th and Inches, Spreaker Web Radio. Nick Lott, Armando Ramirez. We're out of here. Take it easy. Have a good week.